Hare Krishna, devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Jai Shri Chaitanya Sati. Radha Parisisvara Mandir. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki. Nandi. So, dear devotees, I was asked to give this class by Rasananda Prabhu. He was supposed to give the class, but he was busy addressing deities, and they addressed it today. Did accept after being very reluctant to actually do it. Is it okay if I give the class in English? Yeah. I really did not want to do it, but he insisted. So I'll try my best to give this class discussion, and I hope you can help me in this endeavor so I can say something beneficial for all of us that is worthwhile and that is according to Shastra, the Vaishnavas, Acharyas, and our spiritual masters. So please repeat after me. Yayai vidvanapi muyate yatash.
Which verse are you reading?
Yeah, which verse?
17.
Yeah.
Radha Parisisvara told me this Maharaj did the verse 16 yesterday.
Okay.
And then that I should do this one. So, you have it?
Yeah, now we are.
Yesterday we did Yata Ividvam Apim Yate Yatas.
That's what you did yesterday.
Yes. Can you see it? Yaya Ividvam.
Okay.
So we should do the one after that.
Okay,
So 18.
so 18. Okay, I will just then speak about. We recite 18, but I will probably speak about the previous verse because Asaparayana told me to give a class on that one. So let's go. Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Tasyanu Shinvato Rajan.
Tasyanu Shinvato Rajan.
Dharadasya Titanjare.
Radhasya Kritanjale.
Garbo Bhagavan.
Garbo Bhagavan.
Uvacha Madasudanam.
Uvacha Madasudanam.
Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Tasyanu Shinvato Rajan.
Tasyanu Shinvato Rajan.
Dharadasya Titanjale.
Radhasya Kritanjale.
Garbo Bhagavan.
Garbo Bhagavan.
Uvacha Madasudanam.
Uvacha Madasudanam.
Someone can repeat.
Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Tasyanu Shinvato Raja.
Tasyanu Shinvato Raja.
Radhasya Kritanjale.
Radhasya Kritanjale.
Garbo Bhagavan.
Garbo Bhagavan.
Uvacha Madhusudanam.
Uvacha Madhusudanam. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Tasyanu Srinvato Raja. Tasyanu Srinvato Raja. Radhasya Kritanjale. Radhasya Kritanjale. Garbo Bhagavan. Garbo Bhagavan. Uvacha Madhusudanam. Uvacha Madhusudanam.
Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Tasyanu Srinvato Rajan.
Tasyanu Srinvato Rajan.
Radhasya Kritanjale.
Radhasya Kritanjale.
Garbo Bhagavan.
Garbo Bhagavan.
Uvacha Madhusudanam.
Uvacha Madhusudanam.
Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Tasyanu Srinvato Rajan.
Tasyanu Srinvato Rajan.
Radhasya Kritanjale.
Radhasya Kritanjale.
Garbo Bhagavan.
Garbo Bhagavan.
Uvacha Madhusudanam.
Uvacha Madhusudanam. Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Tasyanu Srinvato Rajan.
Radhasya Kritanjale. Garbo Bhagavan. Uvacha Madhusudanam.
Right. So, Sukadev Goswami continued. O King Parikshit, Lord Brahma then began to speak to the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the hearing of Prahlad Maharaj, who stood nearby with folded hands. So, since there's no purport to that verse, I will also read the next one, just the translation and then the purport. But Bali Maharaj's chaste wife, afraid and aggrieved at seeing her husband arrested, immediately offered obeisances to Lord Vamanadev, Upendra, and she folded her hands and spoke as follows. Then, Prabhupada is divine mercy, Bhaktivedanta, Shri Prabhupada ki. So, although Lord Brahma was speaking, he had to stop for a while because Bali Maharaj's wife, Vindhyavali, who was very agitated and afraid, wanted to say something. So, please, if you could, with me, recite the prayers to invoke auspiciousness. So, one can say auspiciousness.
Not inauspicious.
No, auspiciousness. Please. Oh my God,
Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapita Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamaya Mandanati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavansha Shri Rupan Sakayatatam Sarvaganam Sarvekam Sarvadutam Aditana Saritam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sargana Adita Shri Vishakam Pitamsha Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jayapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tata Kanchana Gourangi Hare Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sudevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarunascha Kripa Sindhu Gaevacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Again, thank you for giving me this opportunity. So here we see that Sukadev Goswami is speaking to King Parikshit and telling him how this whole scene is moving on. And this is actually a very interesting pastime that I really enjoyed when I read it. One of the reasons why, because Bali Maharaj is exhibiting, some incredible qualities of Vaishnava, Atmani Vedana, how to surrender everything to the Lord and what we can learn from that. But also because Prahlad Maharaj himself is there. So this is a pastime that actually, when I read it, I felt very nostalgic and very moved, because we read Prahlad Maharaj when he was 5 years old, and now he comes back to help his, grandchild, which is an amazing thing. So this whole scene is actually amazing. So we can go over the setup or the context of it, to refresh our memories a little bit. So in this instance, the wife of Bali Maharaj is actually speaking for her husband, and even cutting the speech of Brahma, who was at that time, because she was so afraid of Bali Maharaj, her husband, being actually arrested by Manadev, that she couldn't actually, respect etiquette and just wait for Brahma to speak, but she had immediately to say something. And I think this is interesting, because speaking about this very chaste wife, I remember that this whole scene, this whole predicament of Bali Maharaj started between this war between the demigods and the demons, and that this war between Bali Maharaj and King Indra is actually something, that has been going on from time immemorial. Radha Parisisvara Mandir explained, this war between demons and demigods is always going on. So again, this is a very interesting dynamic, which I find, because the descriptions in Bhagavatam are really amazing. They really engage us, into those pastimes, understanding that, there's action and things that are going on. And what I appreciate within this pastime, when Bali Maharaj actually took the kingdom of Indrapuri, when he came at his doors, all the demigods has to flee away. And if you guys remember, the reason why is because Bali Maharaj has actually this Brahmanatev, this spiritual support from his spiritual master, from the Brahmanas, because he had benefited them. Therefore, they won the war against the demons. So all the demigods has to flee away. They have to go into hiding, actually. The one person, one woman in this whole universe wasn't happy. And this was Aditi, because all her sons, we actually basically, had to flee from their kingdom. And therefore she went to her husband, Kashyapa Muni, and, very asked him, to do something about it. So she asked him, basically, what is going on. She was very distressed. Kashyapa Muni being a very great sage, coming back to his ashram, he saw that his wife was morose, and he asked, what is going on? What's happened? Why are you so morose? What is going on? And of course, she inquired, don't you see what is going on? Don't you know, like, your sons have been chased away by the demons, Kashyapa Muni being very realized himself, he didn't actually, feel the need to immediately do something about it, knowing that everything is controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that, everything is fine, basically, that there's no reason to be morose, those things happen. He kind of tried, wanted to actually pacify his wife, because she insisted, actually asking him, like, what can I do to actually rectify this situation? What can I do to help my son? So Kashyapa Muni, being very clever and very wise, told her to follow one, particular vow, that would last an entire year. That's Payovrata vow that she would follow in order for her to actually obtain her desire, which was a material desire. He understood that, but at the same time, he devised this particular, trick for his wife to actually, for her to become devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So by her following these particular vows, during an entire year, she had this benediction of having Vamanadev as her son, which is, again, something incredible, and immediately she asked the Lord, please, Lord, would you rectify this situation? My sons are in troubles, and I wish to see them back, and that they come back from their hiding place, so they can regain their position. And this is one of those situations where you see that the entire universe is actually out of balance, because again, the demigods have a specific post to actually to run. They have a specific service to actually do within this universe, and we've seen that particularly whenever this balance is upset, the demigods take refuge in the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order to actually put the equilibrium back in order. Because it's very important to understand that things function in a certain way by the will of the Supreme Lord. And talking about the previous verse, because this is the verse I meditated upon yesterday, and I will reread it so we can refresh our memory again, that material opulence is so bewildering that it makes even a learned self-controlled man forget to search for the goal of self-realization. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, the Lord of the universe, can see everything by his will. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So, this principle that we see here, that material opulence, is so bewildering that even an intelligent person, self-controlled person, can immediately forget, the goal of life, And we see it again throughout Bhagavatam. One amazing example, when we were talking with Revati the other day, is you can give me an example of one personality overwhelmed by his material opulences and actually forgetting what is the goal of life. Can you give me one example? There's many, of course, but one particular example related to also this pastime. Ajamila, in a sense, yes. Although he, as a Brahmana, he wasn't afflicted by so many opulences, more by this feeling of lust, and that he had to chase this prostitute, and this the reason why he actually fell down from his position. Meaning opulence, meaning that material opulence, when somebody being in the position of, like a high position, has many riches, wealth, and things like that, which obstruct him from actually seeing the absolute truth, to recognize who Krishna is. Any examples of that? That's a good example, because in this connection, Shukracharya actually advised Bali Maharaj to go against the Supreme Lord, Vamanadev, to not actually, respond to his wishes. Anyone else?
I was thinking of Indra.
Yes.
That is Indra is like the most amazing example for this, because throughout the whole Bhagavatam we see that again and again and again. Indra just forgets. After committing so many mistakes and the Lord forgiving him, giving him all the chances, he just forgets again. And to a point where we actually wonder what is going on, what is about. And this actually is a very good lesson, because it teaches us how dangerous it is that even in spiritual life, as we advance, as we follow, even if we are very well educated, intelligent, and self-controlled, as is said in this verse, being in the association of too many material objects, all people actually who are after material sense gratification will actually cover our intelligence, and momentarily it will stop our progress in spiritual life. So I found it very interesting that this dynamic, that Indra lost his position, and this is why he lost his war against Bali Maharaj, because he offended his spiritual master, he offended the Brahmanas, and therefore he completely lost. He had to flee, scared. And when I read this pastime, I actually thought this is, for a personality like Indra, this is kind of not very honorable, to just flee from the battle, And can you give me another example where we see that Indra is facing a demon, but the Vaishnavas Acharya explain actually within that confrontation, who actually wins, although Indra seemingly has a victory over that demon, but it is explained otherwise. Can you give me, do you know what I'm thinking, the pastime I'm thinking of? Who is? Vritasura, yes, the demon. And the reason why is because when we see that even though Indra won that fight against Vritasura, the Vaishnava Acharyas explain that he went straight back to Godhead. So Indra had to stay in the material world. Actually, so who actually won within this confrontation? So within this whole pastime, we can see another theme that is, is the Lord partial? This is one question you may ask. Is the Lord partial? Why is the Lord always taking the side of the demons? This is a question that will come again and again. And in this particular pastime, when Aditi asked for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vamanadev, to actually do something about her situation, he says, I can't just go and kill them. I can't just go and kill all these demons. He could, but he can't, because they have the support of the Brahmanas. So he can't just, there's a conflict of interest, because the Lord will protect those who are actually, favorable to the Brahmanas. So he cannot just go and, just kill everyone and say, okay, Indra, you take back your post. So what does he do? He needs to devise a trick. He needs to do something, and like the Lord does many things just in one go. So he needs to do something in order to benefit not only the demigods, but also to benefit Bali Maharaj, because he recognizes Bali Maharaj as his devotee. And this is proven when he asked him, the 3 pieces of land, the size of his steps, which he takes, as Trivikrama, the whole entire universe. And also Bali Maharaj surrenders to him. So this verse, that's 17, I found that it is very interesting verse that's spoken by Radha Maharaj, because in that instance when Bali Maharaj actually get arrested, after giving up everything, and when we see the words of his wife actually that she will speak later on, we understand that although that Bali Maharaj actually surrendered everything to the Lord, he still somehow thought that he was the owner, that he was the proprietor, and therefore that he could surrender anything to the Lord. His wife explained very specifically in defense of her husband that he's being a fool. He thinks he's actually giving you something, my dear Lord, but what does he have actually? And I found that it's very interesting the way she defended him in her position. And that Prabhupada actually explains in the pulpit that the wife is very intelligent in this case, and that in this particular instance, when Bali Maharaj is found prisoner, and he's reflecting on his predicament, his situation, he knows, and in that moment he realizes actually the Lord is more merciful to the demons than he is to the demigods. Because we always think the Lord is merciful to the demigods, that his text is favorable to the demigods, but he recognizes in that moment the Lord is more merciful to me and to the demons than he is to the demigods. And why is that? Because he has taken everything away from me. All this opulence that we are talking about in this previous verse, he has taken it away. So that gives him the chance to actually become self-realized, to remember what is the goal of life. But if you just maintain your position of being very powerful, opulent, you may never get that chance, which is why going to the heavenly planets for devotees is actually a very dangerous thing, because you may forget, your actually position, your actually path. You may forget the movement of Krishna consciousness. So it is very interesting that Bali Maharaj expresses this feeling that actually, Lord, you are very merciful. And we see as well that in the life of Prabhupada, he explains that when the Lord is very favorable to his devotee, he takes away everything from them. He takes just away everything from them. And many of you may have this same experience as well, practical experience, because it is a practical experience that before coming to Krishna consciousness, we found ourselves in a situation where we had nothing. In my case, no house, no place to go, just a backpack and Bhagavad Gita in my back, And those situations actually allows you to surrender fully to the Lord, because you're thinking there's no other shelter now that I have, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can actually take care of me in that situation, which is one of the most important items of Sharanagati or surrendering, is to have complete faith that we are protected, maintained by the Lord. So within this situation, again, if you have the scenery within your mind, when Bali Maharaj is tied in that situation, and you see Prahlad Maharaj, who just arrives, and the description is actually quite beautiful. And I think that, most of the time we depict Prahlad Maharaj as being fair-skinned. Actually, in that description in Srimad Bhagavatam, he is described as being, dark complexion, and he's very beautiful, and he comes because of his effulgence, because of his devotion, and immediately Bali Maharaj, lowers his head, because he knows he's quite proud, he knows how, a great personality he is, a devotee he is, so he lowers his head, and he starts shedding some tears, and in that moment, when I was reading it, I was like, wow, Prahlad Maharaj has come back, but not as, the little kid, 5 years old, but Prahlad Maharaj, very, known all over the 3 worlds now. Everyone knows how great of a devotee he is. So, and he speaks that particular verse, again, in defense of his grandson. So one verse that comes back to mind that is related to this one, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavara Prashaktanam Taya Paritachisasam, Yavasayat Mika Bhukti Samadu Navidyate, which means that, again, same thing, that one who is actually bewildered by Bhogeshvaya, all those material opulences, actually loses his intelligence, and therefore this bhakti, devotional service that is directed onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot manifest. So this is the first part of that verse 17 that I thought was very touching for me, that because of this material opulence we cannot actually see the truth. So I'll come to break down this verse in 2 parts. That the first part, because of material opulence, we are actually blinded, And one thing that occurred to me recently is also, so that is correct, that is true, but for us who are in this movement, which is a preaching movement, how do we go about, preaching, if we know that we may not be self-realized, because we often hear, devotees. I'm thinking of one particular devotee in this instance, Rasananda Prabhu, who say that if you don't have it, you cannot give it, So what do you think about that? That if you don't have bhakti, you cannot give bhakti. So what does it tell us about preaching? That if you think in this sort of way, what do you think?
If you can give it, you have it.
If you can, that's another way to put it.
Mhm.
You completely reverse it. If you have given it, that means you probably have it, right? It is also said that no one can actually preach within this movement unless they are, they have been blessed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yeah.
That you cannot come to that position of being able to actually preach Krishna consciousness unless you have been favored by the Lord Himself.
Yeah, actually, we are just delivering the message of Srila Prabhupada. We are like, the postman.
Yes.
Postman
Yes.
is not like, he don't know anything about what is inside the box or
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, you know that this is you got the point. Like, it's just delivering the message.
Yeah.
So I see myself like that. Of course, I'm not self-realized, but I'm giving Prabhupada to those people who need it. Actually.
Yeah. And I completely agree with that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to preach because I wouldn't be able to give this class. Again, we often hear this saying that we live in a world where the blind lead the blind. And in that sense, what is the point of having a blind person, following another blind, following another blind, who follow another blind? Completely useless, because they all fall into a ditch at some point or other without knowing. But if you have a person who can see at the front of the line, doesn't matter how many blind people you have behind. You just need one person who can see at the front, isn't it? Let's say the person who sees in the front, and then the next person may be blind, but you're following the person who can see. And the person behind that may also be blind, all the way until I don't know how many people you can. It doesn't matter, because if the first person can see, basically, you're sure that you'll get to your destination. So we don't particularly need to be self-realized. We just need to follow those who are self-realized, and in this case we have a pure devotee who has come down within this world to actually give us this spiritual literature, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, and all his disciples also, who allow us to actually follow a path which we know that we will reach destination for sure. And the second part of the verse, the Supreme Personality, Bari Maharaj says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, the Lord of the universe, can see everything by His will. So, to me, it speaks to me to how, again, in the first part, because we are afflicted by material opulence, we are completely blind to who we are, to self-realization. We don't know what is the goal of life. But, Prahlad Maharaj says, but the Supreme Personality of God, Narayan, the Lord of the universe, can see everything. When I read the verse, I was wondering, so we are bewildered, because even if we educated self-control, we forget the goal of life. What does that have to do with the fact that the Lord can see everything? Because He's the one who's guiding us. It is an important factor that the Lord, even though He's the controller of everything, that He is the Supreme Personality of the controller of everything, that He owns everything. He can also see everything. Suridam Sarvabhutanam. He's in the heart of every living entity, and He is the friend of every living entity. That we can actually attain self-realization because we are following in the footsteps of the Acharyas, and ultimately in the footsteps of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this verse is actually very beautiful, the way Prahlad Maharaj puts it, that even if we cannot see, at the same time, we know that the Lord can see everything. We know that the Lord, even though we cannot love, we know that the Lord, loves us, Even though, we are lost, we know that the Lord can always find us. Even though we are forgetful, we know that the Lord remembers everything. Like He said in Bhagavad Gita that, see Arjuna, neither you or I, we always existed. We always exist in the future. You may not remember it, but I remember it. You know. So in this sense, we can fully give our faith and trust unto the Supreme Personality of God, that He will guide us out of the predicament that we are in, which is the situation we see in Bali Maharaj, that at that point he was, feeling, completely ashamed of his position, because he was being arrested by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, maybe because of his actions, maybe because we grow up in demonic families, maybe because, we are not fully surrendered. Maybe many reasons can come of it, but we know that the Lord ultimately will guide us to supreme destination, Paramgatim, if we just have faith in that, So it's almost time. If you would like to give some comments and share, or question or correct anything, please. What I really wanted to highlight in this verse and in the following verse is that although we cannot see the Lord, can see for us. So that we should have. Yes.
Yeah, Krishna. It's been few lectures, verses that we're studying, and I hear a few times, you probably have this experience when the Lord Hare takes from you things. But since I started Krishna consciousness, I don't see that. So what is my problem?
That is not taking everything.
No,
I'm
more opulent. I'm more opulent, I would say. We cannot call it opulence, but compared to before, it's more material. Opulence.
Well, you see, you have a position as temple president.
Yeah.
Like
When?
You have a particular post as temple president.
You have to read the verse before, because in the verse before it is said. Right. I think he heard it now. So.
But I understand what you mean, but particularly, because of the service, we are the service we particularly have that is given to us by the Lord and by our spiritual master. The circumstances may change from a devotee to another. Since you're in a certain position, that you have not only to support the temple, but you're in a grihastha ashram, you have to support your family and so on. You're an incredible devotee and surrendered. I would think that the Lord would actually, support you in that way. Because you have this particular position. This is the same way that the demigods have a particular position. They may be devotees of the Lord, but they are very opulent. They're extremely opulent. The difference, I would say, that for us, we are aiming for pure bhakti, not some kind of mixed bhakti, And for this reason, we see that Prabhupada has emphasized, pure bhakti, Shuddha bhakti, but also it is something that is gradual. And it comes to a time where, by following, the Vanashram Dharma, and that at some point getting to that point where we renounce everything, Vanaprashta and then sannyas, that ultimately you come to that point where you are given the opportunity, where the Lord will take everything anyway. If He hasn't taken everything now, He will at some point. It's just a question of time, kala, that He will take everything. So in that same sense, because we have what we have now, it's not that we should not use the opulence that the Lord is giving us. On the contrary, we should use it. Yukta vairagya, which what Bhaktisiddhanta has taught us. It's not that we should, be completely avoid opulence, but if we use it for the pleasure of the Lord, then it's completely bona fide. Does that?
Yeah, it makes total sense. It's a matter of time. This I fully understand, but then there is this fact. There's this saying, this shastric saying about the fact that Lord Hare takes, but we can see that it doesn't apply to every devotee at first. Even though they come to Krishna consciousness, they don't immediately be taken some material opulence.
Yeah, and there's a particular reason for that, is that he explains that according to our level of advancement in Krishna consciousness, the Lord will actually reciprocate differently with certain devotees. So devotees who actually are able to manage a lot of opulence without being deviated from their path, the Lord will just give everything. As also a point of making, testing them, and that ultimately he wants to see if these devotees will be able to actually take that challenge, and to surrender everything to the Lord, although they may be given all those opulences. But because they are very advanced, they may have this capacity. So the Lord will now give us challenges that he knows we will not be able to actually pass or fulfill. But at the same time, if we see that the Lord sees that, for example, we have very strong material desire. There's nothing, that can, actually satisfy that, he will kind of manage to fulfill those material desire for a time, in order to, what is the word? To diminish them over time. So ultimately we can come to that point of purification and surrendering. So it depends on the devotee, according to the devotee. If you see the example of Rasananda Prabhu, who went to see the Lord completely poor, he didn't have anything. But he completely surrendered to the Lord, and by his small offering, he gained everything afterwards. Because the Lord knew he will not change him, he is not going to be deviated from the path of bhakti. So it varies according to the devotee. Srila Prabhupada, same thing, he was very advanced devotee, so he decided to take everything away from him, But let's say that if you are not very, advanced, in your spiritual understanding or in your bhakti, like having nothing may be actually something detrimental to your spiritual life. Having absolutely nothing. It's just like we have to operate with caution. For example, we know that the Goswamis lived in a particular way, but Prabhupada always warns that you cannot imitate. You cannot just go and live under a tree and pretend that, we are self-realized. So, we have to go through steps. We can, even as brahmachari, we cannot say that we have nothing. We have very living lavishly, we are very opulent as brahmacharis. Like we have everything we need for, everything is taken care for, so that is opulence. That is opulence in a way. Most devotees in this movement are very opulent because of Srila Prabhupada. Has allowed us to have this house. So if you're asking yourself the question, why is that? It's because Prabhupada gave us a home, gave us a way to actually practice bhakti in an environment that is safe, because he knew that us as Westerners or people who come afterwards, not part of this culture, it's very difficult to follow. It's very difficult to actually practice. So therefore, we need some concession. We need we need Vanashraddha. Something you would like to share?
I think we come from different backgrounds, so we may have different visions. So when I joined Krishna consciousness, I had wealth and so on.
Yeah.
So when I'm living in a temple, I don't see its wealth anymore. I see pretty, at least in the West, even in India, practically most of the ashram when I've been, they need to be renovated. Not a little, but a lot.
Yes, definitely.
So I don't find, actually, even in Temple Paris, I don't find ourselves in a pretty opulent position.
And I think,
The
again,
basic needs are taken care of.
yeah.
But I think definitely in ISKCON, the ashram standards will be really, really improved in
Yes.
terms of cleanliness, in terms of everything. So we may have a different opinion.
Yes, and in terms of that, in terms of perspective, and ultimately, because those perspectives are relative, they vary according to the devotee of the person. This is why the importance of understanding that this opulence, it is used for the pleasure of the Lord, not for our pleasure. And not that we live in a temple because it is very comfortable, like, or not, according to our own standard conditioning and so on. And this what makes a whole difference, because in the instance of Vamana, they've also taken, the three words. What was the material word for the Lord? It's like, in terms of opulence, what is it? It's nothing. Because the other question, thank you for precising that. The other question I asked when reading these verses, what is opulence? What is opulence for a devotee? Because the devotee doesn't consider material opulence. A very high advanced devotees will consider that any material opulence is actually, uses in the time that it's not used for the Lord. At the time it's not used for the Lord, it has no worth. Just like, if the finger, Prabhupada gives that example all the time, if the finger is not, part of the body, what is the worth of the finger? It's completely dead. But as part of the body, it has some worth, So similarly, what we are looking after is not material opulence, it's spiritual opulence. We want spiritual opulence, and we cannot have enough of spiritual opulence. But what does that mean? The environment that we have has to be, propice for us to develop spiritual opulence. And sometimes that means we need to have some material opulence, which means you need to have some improvements in terms of, cleanliness, ashram standards, and so on, for the deities. After that, we will see that, spiritual opulence will automatically increase, So having that perspective is good, but to never, be deviated from what is actually the goal. Because devotee, whether he's opulently situated or not, doesn't matter to him. It's whether can he serve the Lord or not. Is he connected to the devotees and so on or not? That makes a difference.
For me, opulence is close to cleanliness.
Yes, especially now in California.
If you give me a clean room, even if it's small, I'm happy. If you give me a whole dirty, big place, I don't call that opulence, even though it may be shining with gold if there is prasadam on the floor.
Yeah.
I don't call that opulence.
Because if it's not clean, you cannot serve the Lord. Can't serve the Lord within those type of conditions. But at the same time, you gave a very nice example the other day of Srila Prabhupada's pastime that I've had not heard before when you went to New York and explained to me that in his beginning days, he actually had no showers where he was living.
Yes.
That he had, what was the name of the
Mishra, Dr. Mishra.
Dr. Mishra, right? That he, because of the conflict of interest in understanding of, what is the absolute truth and how to approach it, that he had to live somewhere else and that he didn't have any showers. So you can imagine Prabhupada waking up in the morning, not taking a shower, chanting his rounds and having to walk how long?
The walk is taking, for us it takes maybe 30 minutes, but in winter for a whole man, maybe take twice the time.
Then he would go to Dr. Mishra's house, take a shower, and do whatever he could.
Cook.
And cooking and so
share his cooking.
Yeah. So you can say he's a pure devotee, but he was in a situation where the circumstances didn't allow him to actually, the first moment he wakes up in the morning, take a shower and everything. Does that take away from his purity? No, it doesn't. Not even a little bit. Whoever thinks he does is crazy, is insane. It doesn't take away from Prabhupada's purity because, because the point again, is not externally, is what to do with the environment you are given, but also how to continue on serving the Lord. Because if you see the life of Parad Maharaj, you see the life of Bali Maharaj, what were their environment? They grew up in demon families. What was his choice? They may have been great devotees, but what could they have done? Indra was the sworn enemy of Bali Maharaj, just fighting them. And because he also had affection for his brothers and sisters as demons, what to do? But ultimately he did surrender to the Lord, and that made the whole difference. Because the Lord doesn't favor demons or demigods. He's actually equal to everyone. He's impartial to everyone. The Lord favors his devotees. So you can have a demon who is a devotee, and you can have a demigod who is not a devotee. But the Lord will favor whoever is surrendered to him, whoever is a devotee, whoever is a Vaishnava. This Prabhupada gives the example, just like if you have parents, and because the father sees his child crying, he will take care of his child. It's not that, he will worry about somebody else's child. It's natural. If your child is crying, you take care of your child. because Krishna is the Father, a very living entity. He takes care of all his children, but particularly for those who are crying to him, you know. So if you are crying to Krishna again, he will give you special attention, and this is why the last part, and I will finish here, of this particular verse is Prahlad says that, you know, therefore I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, and the importance of prayer, the importance of like recognizing that even though we cannot see, the Lord sees everything, but also therefore we should pray to Him in order to attain our spiritual goals and to actually see through the darkness of this material world. So the importance of prayer is very important, and Bhakti Yoga Maharaj, you know, he gives a whole class about it and says that, you know, in 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shri Krishna gives instruction to Uddhava, telling him this is how you should pray. And this is the same instruction Prabhupada gives us. He says that if you have any difficulty, you just come to the temple, go and see the deities and tell them your difficulty, tell them your problems. Pray to them in such a way, you know. Pray sincerely pray to them, you know. This is my situation, this is what is going on, and how can I get out of this situation. So if you have faith in that, you know, normally there should be no problem. Okay. Thank you, dear devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Radha Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Rasananda Prabhu ki jai.